And we're back. Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, Chapter 88. We are slowly making our way to 100, which is kind of insane. I did think I'd get this far, but not this quickly. So we'll see how this all goes. Today, it is the third day of the week, aka the Vampire Killer workout. I am feeling all right. My knee fucking hurts like crazy. That's just because I hit it against a wall yesterday, right on like the corner. So yeah, that fucking sucked, and I'm feeling it still today. Hopefully tomorrow I don't feel it. But besides that, upper body's feeling fine. Nothing too crazy, just a little sore, but it is what it is. I'm looking forward to this gym workout. Today we're going to go to the other gym, the one that's by my brother's house. So that means that it's going to be a little bit of a change of scenery. I haven't done an upper body over here, so this is going to be interesting. And as well, we're going to have a little bit of a longer car ride, which means a longer subject talk, which I personally sometimes enjoy, sometimes I don't enjoy. It depends on what the subject matter is. But today's subject matter was determined because of two things that happened the other day. One of the guys from the Fresh and Fit podcast, or whatever the fuck they call it, was on video that was crossed over into fitness versus being fat, all that other shit. I didn't watch the actual video. I watched people that I like's reaction to that video instead, because I'd rather not watch the main one and, have them skip forward. Jesus, a rock just hit my fucking windshield. Thankfully, it looks like there's no damage. Okay, cool. Anyways, but like I was saying, that was factor one. I think factor two, what was the second factor? There was something else that popped up that I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'll talk about this. But the main subject matter for today, the red pill, yes. The reason why I wanted to go down this rabbit hole is because I have been down this rabbit hole a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Maybe it's Star Wars. I've gone down this rabbit hole before. It is not something that is brand new to me. I wanted to take this time to discuss some of the things that are more recent about that entire space on the internet rather than the other stuff. But the red pill in general. Okay, so to start, first it started off with the Matrix. It's a whole other thing, like the actual basis of it. But the red pill that I'm specifically talking about here is the manosphere on YouTube/social media. Personally, I've been not interested, but I have known about it for a while. To put it in perspective of how long I've known it, how long I've been into it, Andrew Tate, as you may or may not know, probably know because he's that popular now. I remember watching his videos when he had less than like 3K subs on YouTube. So this was early shit. Back when he was throwing things against a wall to see what would stick. And it was funny because I'd watch him back in the day. You could tell that he was trying to say anything in order to get popular. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you can tell certain people are like, all right. But there was some level of like a faint ridiculousness that you could kind of like watch his stuff with some humor into it. But that's a whole other subject for a whole other day, kind of. Maybe I'll go into it in the voiceover, because who knows. But that's not how I started. The start, it came before that. I was very much into subreddits and stuff like that, specifically the Red Pill one before they got like taken down / every single post ended up being the same fucking thing after a while. I read some of the books. The Way of Man is still pretty good if I remember correctly. The Way to the Superior Man is also still pretty good and holds up. Rational Male was alright. It was still good, but Rollo is a little funky of a guy now, so I'm not too hard pressed on that. And we'll get into the main issues with a lot of these types of things, but the main subject matter at hand about the red pill is that most of it is the entire basis of it is a movement where guys will take the pill and then see the reality of the world for what it is. So, the nature of social dynamics, men, women, and all that other jazz that happen together, and how it's fucked for men in a lot of different ways. Now, that is partially true. We are the more fucked around with sex in that, like, we are just numbers or we don't matter in the end game. All right, women and children first is always a true thing, no matter what, right? So that was the basis of it. There was also game and all that other jazz. I got kind of into that, but just kind of more of it knowing, and we'll get to that later. But the thing about it all, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because today, as to what it might have become something a little bit more inspiring and more so along the lines of trying to make a masculine presence amongst this world where, it's not really masculine. It's making that turn into not only a shell of its former self, but really just disguising itself as its own masculine trait thing, with the core being still as rotten as the things that our modernity, prescribes. So, for example, a lot of these guys they believe that they are masculine, but yet they will promote OnlyFans women on their podcasts, or they will use pornography and or other gambling or other vices in order to basically trick other people into giving them money, but then now that they have money, they're all of a sudden very masculine. Things like that. It's very surface level, as you could tell. Like, the moment that you actually start chipping into half of the people on there, the facade instantly breaks and disappears. It's saddening, mostly because it's just a tactic that most other groups in social media land nowadays use all the time in order to make their money. You have the bread tubers, you have the black pillars, you have the fake natties, you have the fitness influencers in general, you have the makeup influencers, you have the ASMR people, the mukbang people, all these people that will infiltrate their quote niche, whatever the hell it is, put the mask on for whatever will get them clicks, and then come out, and then the moment that something happens and or they get their money, the mask is taken off, basically. So when it comes to the red pill community, this was an issue that I feel like has gone worse and worse as it has gained popularity in certain circles of the internet, especially because it attracted certain circles of people that are really reprehensible people. And because of that, there is an issue when it comes to the actual state of things. So I'm gonna put it in this perspective. When self-policing certain communities, because self-policing is important, there was no real true self-policing in this community particularly, and it was a sad state of affairs, because then that's the word I was looking for, then you have a bunch of grifters coming in to wear the mask or facade of who they think they are, and just to get more internet bucks. And it is a very sad state of affairs, mostly because I'm not necessarily a fan of every single thing that they talk about, which we'll get to, but it could have been something nice where, men can be men type deal. But the issue now is that it has been infiltrated and popularized by all these people that are, for a lack of a better term, are kind of retarded, and also just use these things to get people angry, and then they all of a sudden ask for money immediately after or something, or just clicks or views or whatever. It is quite literally disgusting. I will move on to this subject matter, and this is where I was going to talk about. Half of it was the reason why, because the Fresh and Fit guy, that podcast, the whatever podcast, they are disgusting in multiple facets. You don't have to understand too much. They will usually have an array of women on there that for some reason they like to punch down on, which makes absolutely zero sense. I don't understand what's the point of talking to these women who are, not only are you platforming them and enabling them to sell more of themselves, but you should probably have other men that are actually struggling out there, actually wanting the help that you, quote, pretend to provide, Instead, you are platforming these women because realistically they give you the clicks, but you're just doubling down and perpetuating the things that modern society want men to fall under. So, in the end, you are what you say you hate. So, you can tell that these podcasts are just baiting. It's baiting the coomers, it's baiting the rage baiters, it's baiting the ragers, it's baiting the dudes that just want eye candy, and then there's also baiting the dudes that want to feel right, that entire thing. And it's quite disgusting, because also I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm an arbiter for these women that are on these podcasts, but at the same time, you're like punching down at these people. There's not even this isn't like an intellectual warfare, all right? You're talking to a girl that goes to the club 3 times a week. She's done. You leave her alone. She's made her decision and move on. Lost cause, there you go. She's another one. She's another statistic. What is the point of having all these women on there just so you can feel smarter about yourself? And also all the podcast people on there, like all the dudes on there, weak, small, frail, very much wormy. Like you can tell that they're disgusting people. You don't even have to look at them and you can tell, oh, you're not a good person. You can just look at them. You can probably smell it on them too, realistically. But I've never smelled them and I hope to not get that close. So they are scummy. So, and you can tell they're scummy. And it's an issue with me personally because I see these things and I'm like, fuck, these are the types of people that get famous. These assholes, these people that say all these things but don't actually believe it, are weak, pencil-necked, fucking will look at you weird because you say, hey, go pick up a barbell, but then all of a sudden they'll be like, you know, ooh, well, you know, women only want to date up. It's like, yes, of course, you fucking retard, but why are you talking to them? It's like they're trying to talk into the void that is a woman in this scenario. And all of a sudden they're trying to pretend like, oh, what I'm saying is making a difference. No, it's not. And that's the thing that amazes me about something like this. It could be turned into something like a positive, but because other people in the community, basically the people who came before these guys, did not do a good job of excommunicating the snakes and the disgusting people out there, they have made it so the community is wrought and run by these gross, intellectually dishonest grifters that now make it so the entire community has a bad name, and now everything that they're in is so fucking cringe-worthy, and like I can't listen to that. I just cannot listen to anything that is said by them. It gets to the point where I know what they're talking about, and I can agree with a lot of the stuff they say. But because the way they say it and because of the way that they are, I want to disassociate myself with them. Not only that, but also revert back and say that they are wrong, even though they are right. That's how bad it is. They really miss the entire mark about the fact that the person who's sending the message is 90% of what matters, all right? You can be the charismatic leader saying the craziest shit ever, but if you're a charismatic leader, then people will actually listen. There are many examples of that in history. I don't want to go into that. But the point is, these people which turned what could have been a decent place into a shithole. And that's the other part of it too. And this is what I was going to say earlier, which was the fact that the people that were supposed to be excommunicating others, so those who were supposed to be guarding the community, did a poor job in that guarding of the community and allowed everybody in. And the issue is that when they allowed everybody in, you also allow people that stupidly accept everything that was said. And that's the main issue with a lot of things, but I'll keep it into this frame. When it comes to certain things in the red pill, some things you can objectively see that it's true, all right? But some things you can drop. That's the thing. You don't have to accept everything that you read. You don't have to know it as fact. You can take things that apply to you, keep them, and then throw the rest away. And I think the throwing the rest away part is something that people do not realize. There's so many things that I could go into, particularly, I could probably get into it in the voiceover, but when it comes to the entire, they will pick everything that these guys will say as gospel and not realize that there are certain things that are colored via perspective that aren't really applicable to you, but they'll take it as if it is the truth end all be all. It's sad, but it's also stupid, because then you get people that regurgitate the same thing when in reality they have no life experience to ever really even say that it happened, and or they're too sure of themselves, so it gives off this weird like scumminess to them. I don't understand it. I don't get why people can't just take what you can get from it and then leave the rest alone. Everything, you can learn from everything, but accepting everything as fact is an issue. Obviously, pretty innate, but for some reason, those who took everything at face value and then went from there and decided, oh hey, I'm going to accept everything these guys say without actually doing some critical thinking, and or even how it can apply to my life. You know what I mean? It's like the guy from the middle of Nebraska being like, yeah man, these fucking sluts, man, I can't be with them. All women are terrible, you know? This guy who has the population of 10 women in his hometown, and he probably tried to bang them all. I mean, really, the disconnect with something like that is too real, and those people should be shunned for their disconnects in their life and should be made fun of, because then maybe the ridicule will force them to do some introspection and realize, oh hey, maybe I am a stupid idiot for a reason. Maybe I should be the one looking in the mirror and realizing what I'm taking all at face value instead of doing my own interpretations of things. Maybe they're right, you know? But we don't do that anymore, and that's a general subject for a different day, because I don't want to get too into gatekeeping, because that is something that is important, but it's a whole other subject for a whole other day. But when it comes to the red pill stuff, I really hope that it crashes and burns. It probably won't, because of course it's just going to gain popularity over and over again, because for some reason people like to hate things. I personally don't watch these things. I've watched a couple of clips. That was more than enough that I ever need to know about it. The random dudes will pop up every once in a while. The pencil-necked one from the whatever one is so fucking weak and lame. He makes me disgusted having a beard. Just goodbye. We'll probably get into the ironic nature of a lot of the things that they say, so we'll get into that in the voiceover. We'll get into more detail about this on the inside. All right, start this day off with a overhead press. With these Olympic weights, it feels great. It's very different. It almost feels like heavier, but I know it's not. I have gotten skinnier, so that's where this entire thing comes in. It is what it is. I liked using the setup though. It was very nice. But anyway, back to the main subject matter at hand. I do remember the second reason why this subject matter even came up. On YouTube, they have a list of suggested live streams, and one of the suggested live streams that comes up, like popular live streams all throughout YouTube, was the whatever one, and I always like to make fun of it because the ridiculous thumbnails and titles, because they're always stupid and ridiculous. So that was the second reason why this subject matter even came up. So I think that the biggest thing about a lot of the people that get popular in that space, and I think this is generally speaking of a lot of other niches. I am familiar with the fitness industry, so you'll hear a lot of this as well, but it's just charlatans that get popular by spewing a whole bunch of nonsense that doesn't really apply to people from their day-to-day life. And I think that's the issue with a lot of other industries, and I'll talk about the fitness industry but on a different video. But in particular this one, it's almost like they don't practice what they preach, and a lot of the time they end up perpetuating the things that they hate. So for example, they end up talking about the idea of like all women are whores, or like women want a man that's, you know, all full of status, you know, like who's doing well in life, but yet they interact with low status women, and not only that, but never really give any other properties except for get more money and get more bitches as the quote embetterment of a man. Really, get fit is another one that they'll do, but these are just very blanket statements with no real actionable value or property that a person can use for themselves. They'll just be like, oh, just do like 100 push-ups every day or some shit like that. Yeah, goodbye rotator cuffs. These people also are small and weak, so that's why you shouldn't even listen to their fitness advice at all. But regardless of that, most of the time it's like they want to perpetuate the same things that they always say they hate. So for example, they hate like how modern society makes men weak, but yet they have women who are selling their bodies on there, which is known to be a major factor for men to have issues with pornography addiction and things like that. So it is quite ironic that these things are happening. That's one. Two, they will sell services such as gambling and or very luxurious lifestyles that are based off of consumerism, when in reality we should be going away from that. But yet, you know, the money aspect of it all is seen as important because then that equals status. But in reality, the average woman doesn't necessarily care about those things, but more so along the lines of you know, are you funny? Do you look healthy? And do you have a job and or can provide a secure future for me? That's about it. There are obviously little details into everything, but this isn't the entire point of this conversation. But it is the focus of the shallowness that they do on these podcasts, particularly, that make it so disgusting to me, that they have these views that really just are perpetuating the same things that they say they hate, and it is quite literally the worst. For for some reason like to talk about religious aspects of certain things, but yet will never do anything that's actually religious at all, and or actually change the way that they are presenting themselves to be more faith-based. So that's a whole other thing as well. They have a tendency to just hop on the next trend or drama or whatever just to get the clicks. Obviously, many people do this and resort to just being drama channels, unfortunately, but these are things that realistically enrich no one's lives at all and only serve to distract people really from what they should be learning, you know, and or just doing in their own personal life. It's funny to me that a lot of them end up like praising certain people, such as like Robert Greene, who has made great books. I have read a few of them, but they always forget like some things that Robert Greene has said, such as so much depends on your reputation. Which is funny because a lot of the time, because of the things that they say and or do on these podcasts, their reputations are basically dog shit. Let's be frank about that. Most people that are outside of it will listen to these people for 5 to 10 minutes and realize they are idiots and or are presenting themselves in a terrible fashion. So nothing else that they say matters. Like I said in the car before, I don't even necessarily disagree with the things that they say, but because of their presentation, I want to disagree. I want to just oppose them because they're so irreprehensible. And that is a feat on its own if you really truly think about it. Like, you have to be willing to make yourself stupid and unaccept the truth because the person who's saying it is so horrible that you're like, you know what? No, they're wrong. You know, it's quite a feat to say the least. So I have to give them props on that one. This last little bit, I'm not going to go too in depth on because this will probably be its own video because this whole subject, but they are also people who end up perpetuating the entire, like, you got to be hard, you got to be tough, you got to be mentally hard on yourself and do all this shit. Like, you got to wake up at 5 in the morning and eat shit out a log of turd and then eat it or some bullshit like that. Those people genuinely probably not had an actual hard day in their life, one, but two, also make their own lives harder as if life isn't hard on itself. It is quite literally astonishing. I get why they do it because, you know, life is too soft, whatever, nowadays, whatever. The issue with that is that it leads to a false self-confidence that is established in nothing that is actually concrete. So you're making your life hard because you're making your life hard. Like, you know, life is hard because you're doing it to yourself. Like, you could just live through normal life and all of a sudden things will just get harder as you try to progress normally. You don't have to add all these extra things to make yourself hard, you know? Life is already a battle. Adding more things to it is not going to make you harder. You just have to go through the regular stuff and then you'll be better as long as you know what you're doing or at least try to do stuff. But that's a whole other subject for a different day.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises skipped neck curls because I couldn't reach the fucking thing with the standing preacher curl station. It was weird. I couldn't do it. It wasn't good. Besides that, everything else got it in. Nothing skipped. Exercises not filmed, none, because I got everything in. Thank God. But anyways, I am on my way back home. I am tired. I'm a little crunched for time, but we are going to get home. We are going to chill out. It is kind of hot, but not hot. It's also kind of rainy, but not rainy, which is stupid weather. But anyways, to get back to the main subject at hand, I just wanted to say these 3 things. The 3 key takeaways from this. 1, guard your communities well. If you don't guard your communities well, then snakes will come in and destroy everything. That is something that you need to take care of. You always need to police the people that you surround in, whether it's small or large. Police the people around you, or else the ones that will vulture and kill what you want to do will come and destroy the things that you love. A lot of things can follow this, but you know, if you think of it like this, the reason why people let other people in is because they want their thing to be more popular, aka more money. And if you let those people in, that's when it really starts to corrupt and destroy. So do not let that happen. Please stay away from people that can do that type of shit, because obviously they are evil and they want nothing but to destroy things. So be aware of that. Number 2, if you encounter people like this that are disgusting humans that will say one thing but do another, please shun them and please do not give them attention. Even eyeballs amongst them is their currency nowadays. So after this episode, will I mention those guys? Probably not again unless something happens, but I will not mention them. I will not care for them. I do not care to see them. I will not give them a direct view because that is contributing to them. So do not do anything like that. Stop supporting people. Stop falling for the rage bait. Stop falling for all that bullshit, because all that shit is stupid and will ruin you if you keep falling into it. They will be able to control you and emotionally manipulate you. That is 2. Number 3, when you learn new things, don't take everything as gospel. Take what you can from those things and from there apply it to your world and see how the rest might or might not fit into your world. There are certain things that are honest and true, but then there are certain things that don't really necessarily apply to you or are kind of useless and or thinly veiled jabs at certain other people because they have a specific problem with them. So you have to just be careful with who you're getting this information from and judge it based on your criteria, because if you do not judge it through your lens, you are just taking everything from their lens as fact. So you got to be very careful about that. It's very sad to see the state of affairs of things that could have been like the quote manosphere. It would have been nice to have a place where men could be men, but instead now it is just a place where men bash women and then also do other shit, and it's very weird. And I hopefully I went over it in the voiceover. It is a disgusting place that I'm glad I am not a part of at all. So it is what it is. With that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I would love to know. I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas and opinions about all this subject particularly, and also if you've heard about it, because some people don't even know this section of the internet even exists. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I will be back on tomorrow with something brand new. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Peace.